Part 3. Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan. Refer to Appendix 2. Incident Action Flowchart. Section 3.1. Purpose of the Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan. Key purposes include: protect life and health by minimizing injuries and loss of life during emergencies. Reduce damage to property and the environment. Provide clear procedures and roles so everyone knows what to do before, during, and after an emergency. Ensure rapid and coordinated response to incidents. Maintain continuity of operations and enable faster recovery. Comply with legal and regulatory requirements. Improve preparedness through training and drills, reducing panic and confusion. In short, the Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan helps Hallmarc to act quickly, safely, and effectively when unexpected situations occur, rather than reacting in an unplanned or chaotic way. The Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan is created in accordance, and in conjunction with the Project Management Plan. With the assistance of the Hallmarc Site Risk Assessment, potential emergency situations can be identified and the risk controls addressed. This plan will address identified risks and will implement controls through safe work method statements, permit systems and/or consultation. Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan Part 3 will be prepared by the Chief Warden and approved by either the project manager or director. The ongoing suitability of the Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan will be regularly assessed and reviews or revisions recorded in Section 1.2 of this document. Any changes to this document will be disseminated to Hallmarc staff via email.
Section 3.2. Definitions. Section 3.2.1. Notifiable incident. WorkSafe Victoria, the regulator under the Occupational Health and Safety Act 2004, defines a notifiable incident as a serious workplace incident that must be reported to WorkSafe immediately after a duty holder becomes aware of it. These incidents are those that result in serious harm or expose someone to a serious risk to their health and safety. Section 3.2.2. Serious injury or illness. Under the Occupational Health and Safety Act 2004 and associated guidance, a serious injury or illness is an injury or illness that results in one or more of the following consequences. Medical treatment following exposure to a substance. A person requires medical treatment within 48 hours of exposure to a substance, for example chemical or biological agent. Immediate treatment as an inpatient in hospital. The person is admitted to hospital as an inpatient for treatment. Immediate medical treatment for specific serious injuries, such as amputation of a body part, serious head or eye injuries, separation of skin from underlying tissue, for example degloving or scalping, electric shock, spinal injury, loss of bodily function, serious lacerations or other severe wounds requiring immediate intervention. These are examples of injuries that typically trigger the requirement to notify WorkSafe, that is, they are considered serious. Section 3.2.3 Dangerous Incident. A dangerous incident is an incident that exposes a person to a serious risk to their health or safety emanating from an immediate or imminent exposure to a hazard at a workplace. If such an incident occurs, it must be reported to WorkSafe Victoria even if no one is injured. In practice, these situations include, but are not limited to, uncontrolled escape, spillage, or leakage of any substance. This includes hazardous chemicals, dangerous goods, or other substances with potential to harm. Uncontrolled implosion, explosion, or fire. Any unexpected energy release that could seriously endanger health or safety. Uncontrolled escape of gas, steam, or a pressurized substance. These can create serious immediate risks due to pressure or toxicity. Electric shock. Where electrical exposure creates a significant risk to people's health or safety. The fall or release from a height of any plant, substance, or thing. For example, objects falling from height that could seriously injure someone if they had been present. The collapse, overturning, failure, malfunction of, or damage to plant. This applies to plant that must be authorized under the OH&S regulations, including things like earth-moving machinery and pressure equipment. Collapse or partial collapse of a structure includes buildings, structural elements, etc., that pose a threat if they fail. Collapse or failure of an excavation or its supports. Any significant failure of groundworks or shoring. Inrush of water, mud, or gas in an underground excavation or tunnel. Risks associated with underground works. Other incidents where there is immediate, imminent exposure to serious risk. WorkSafe considers serious risk to mean a risk that could have resulted in death or serious injury and wasn't minor, based on both the likelihood and potential severity of harm.
Section 3.2.4 Near miss or dangerous occurrence. An unplanned event or circumstance that could have caused serious harm such as injury, illness, death, or property damage, but did not actually result in such harm. This is important because such events still identify serious risks that need to be managed to prevent future incidents. Certain near misses involving serious risks or dangerous incidents must be reported immediately to WorkSafe if they expose someone to a serious risk to health or safety. Section 3.2.5 Emergency services. Emergency service means an organization or agency that provides one or more of the following services in response to emergencies. Fire and rescue services, such as Fire Rescue Victoria or the Country Fire Authority. Ambulance or paramedic services, such as Ambulance Victoria. The State Emergency Service SES. And police services. Section 3.3 Incident classification. Class 1, major and/or reportable incidents. Significant events that may require external reporting such as a serious injury, hospitalization, fatality, or dangerous occurrence. These incidents will prompt an incident investigation. Class 2, moderate incidents. Accidents or injuries requiring external medical treatment, but not immediately reportable externally. Class 3, minor injuries or illness. First aid required, low risk with minimal impact. Class 4, near miss. Incident that could have caused harm, but did not.
Section 3.4 Emergency roles and responsibilities. Section 3.4.1 Chief Warden. Requirements. Chief Warden qualifications. Fire control qualifications. First aid as CPR training. Responsibilities. Pre-emergency, risk reduction. Fire wardens help prevent fire emergencies by actively monitoring hazards and supporting the implementation of fire safety measures. Support fire risk control measures. Help observe and report risks such as combustible material storage issues, blocked exits, or faulty fire safety equipment. Ensure emergency access and egress routes remain clear. Keep evacuation routes unblocked and safe for use. Assist in emergency planning and training. Participate in fire drills, know evacuation procedures, and help familiarize other workers with them. Assist in developing or updating emergency evacuation plans for workers who may need help evacuating. These activities align with workplace fire warden best practice and emergency planning standards such as AS 3745. During an emergency. When an alarm sounds or a fire is detected, raise the alarm or ensure it has been raised. Make sure the situation is communicated immediately to all on site. Lead and coordinate safe evacuation. Direct people to the nearest safe exits and ensure an orderly evacuation to assembly areas. Sweep your designated area. Check accessible spaces for workers and visitors, including toilets, storage rooms, etc., to ensure no one is left behind. Assist workers who need help evacuating, for example injured or mobility-impaired workers. Close doors after evacuation to help isolate fire and reduce smoke spread, where safe to do so. Report to your chief warden or site supervisor on evacuation status and any issues. These roles help ensure everyone is cleared from the hazard area safely and that emergency services can arrive with clear information. Post-emergency duties. After an incident or drill. Participate in debriefs. Share what happened, what went well, and what could improve. Help revise emergency plans and training based on lessons learned from drills or actual emergencies. Report actions and findings so that site safety documentation remains up to date. Section 3.4.2. Warden. Requirements. Warden qualifications. Fire control qualifications. First aid and CPR training. Responsibilities. Before an emergency. Preparedness and prevention. Be familiar with the site emergency management plan. Know the site layout, evacuation routes, assembly points, and high-risk areas. Identify and report fire and emergency hazards, including blocked exits, unsafe storage of flammable materials, faulty firefighting equipment. Ensure emergency exits and access ways are kept clear. Participate in emergency drills and training. Help communicate emergency procedures to workers and visitors. Be aware of workers who may need assistance during evacuation, for example injured or mobility impaired. During an emergency. When an alarm is raised or an emergency occurs, raise the alarm, if not already activated. And notify site supervision. Stop work immediately in your area, if safe to do so. Direct workers, visitors, and contractors to evacuate using designated routes. Sweep your allocated area, where safe. Check work zones, amenities, and enclosed spaces. Ensure no one is left behind. Assist persons requiring help to evacuate. Close doors, if safe, to limit fire and smoke spread. Prevent re-entry into unsafe areas. Report evacuation status and any issues to the chief warden and site supervisor. Always maintain your own safety. Wardens are not firefighters. At the assembly area. Help account for workers from your area. Keep people together and prevent early return to site. Pass on critical information to Chief Warden. Site management. Emergency services, if required. After an emergency or drill. Participate in debriefs. Report. Evacuation problems. Unsafe behavior. Equipment or communication failures. Assist with reviewing and improving emergency procedures. Support updates to the emergency management plan if needed.
Section 3.4.3 First Aider. Requirements. First aid qualification. Responsibilities. Before an emergency, preparedness and prevention. Be familiar with the site emergency management plan. Ensure first aid facilities and stock are adequate. Know the site layout, evacuation routes, assembly points, and high-risk areas. Identify and report fire and emergency hazards, including blocked exits, unsafe storage of flammable materials, faulty firefighting equipment. Ensure emergency exits and access ways are kept clear. Participate in emergency drills and training. Help communicate emergency procedures to workers and visitors. Be aware of workers who may need assistance during evacuation, for example injured or mobility impaired. During an emergency. When an alarm is raised or an emergency occurs. Raise the alarm, if not already activated, and notify site supervision. Stop work immediately in your area, if safe to do so. Direct workers, visitors, and contractors to evacuate using designated routes. Sweep your allocated area, where safe. Check work zones, amenities, and enclosed spaces. Ensure no one is left behind. Assist persons requiring help to evacuate. Close doors, if safe, to limit fire and smoke spread. Prevent re-entry into unsafe areas. Report evacuation status and any issues to the chief warden and site supervisor. Maintain your own safety at all times. Wardens are not firefighters. At the assembly area. Help account for workers from your area. Keep people together and prevent early return to site. Pass on critical information to Chief Warden. Site management. And emergency services, if required. After an emergency or drill. Participate in debriefs. Report evacuation problems. Unsafe behavior. Equipment or communication failures. Assist with reviewing and improving emergency procedures. Support updates to the emergency management plan if needed.
Section 3.5. Emergency drills. In order to ensure the effectiveness of emergency planning, evacuation, and emergency drills will be conducted accordingly. Within 1 month of commencing on site and 12 monthly thereafter, an evacuation drill will be conducted. Details will be recorded in Build Pass on the Emergency or Evacuation Drill Record, 3 monthly, form. Learnings incorporated into emergency management planning, 3 monthly after initial evacuation drill. An emergency drill will be conducted. This is a scenario-based drill. For example, rescue from height, response to an injured worker, how long to get a defibrillator to site. Details will be recorded in Build Pass on the Emergency or Evacuation Drill Record, 3 monthly, form. Learnings incorporated into emergency management. Scenario-based drills must be relevant to site risks. For example, working near long grass, snake bite scenario, working at height, rescue from height. The table should be completed accordingly.
Section 3.6. Critical Incident Management. In the event of a possible or actual Class 1 incident, the project manager shall be responsible for notifying the HSEQ manager and directors. Section 3.6.1. What is critical incident management? Incident management is the systematic process for responding to, reporting, investigating, and preventing workplace incidents, including injuries and illnesses, near misses, dangerous occurrences, property or environmental damage. Its purpose is to protect people, meet legal obligations, and prevent recurrence. Section 3.6.2. Immediate response to an incident. When an incident occurs, make the site safe. Stop work if required. Isolate hazards. Prevent further harm. Provide first aid, emergency response. Call emergency services if required on 000. Use trained first aiders. Preserve the incident site for notifiable incidents. Do not disturb the site unless necessary to assist injured persons. Make the site safe. Prevent further risk.
Section 3.6.3. Notifiable incidents. Certain incidents must be reported to WorkSafe Victoria immediately. Notifiable incidents include death, serious injury or illness, such as amputation, head or eye injury, serious burns, spinal injury, dangerous occurrences, including collapse of scaffolding, structural failure, uncontrolled release of hazardous substances, electric shock. The WorkSafe Victoria Incident Notification Line is 132 360 for verbal notification as soon as practicable after an incident. This must be followed by written notification within 48 hours. This will be in response to an emailed form. Section 3.6.4 Incident Reporting on Site. All incidents, including near misses, should be reported internally via incident report forms, site diaries, safety management systems such as Build Pass. Reports should include date, time, location, and people involved. Description of what happened. Immediate actions taken. Section 3.6.5. Investigation. Hallmarc Incident Response and Investigation Training. YouTube link. The purpose is prevention, not blame. Investigation typically looks at what happened, why it happened, that is, root causes, contributing factors such as systems, training, supervision, equipment. Section 3.6.6. Corrective and preventative actions. After investigation. Implement controls to prevent recurrence. Update swims, risk assessments, or procedures. Provide additional training or supervision. Communicate lessons learned to workers. Section 3.6.7. Employee Assistance Program. In the event of a traumatic event, staff will be reminded of the Hallmarc Employee Assistance Program. The EAP supports employees' well-being with confidential phone counseling. We recognize that one of the most important aspects of effective counseling is for it to be provided as quickly as possible. The aim of counseling is to help resolve both workplace and personal issues before they adversely impact an employee's mental health and work performance. Common issues include workplace conflict, bullying, stress, trauma, critical incidents, termination, as well as personal issues such as depression, anxiety, alcohol and substance abuse, gambling, relationships and domestic violence. Hallmarc helpline number is 0407086000. See Appendix D, page 117.
Section 3.6.8. Support of family. In the case of advising family of an injured worker, this should be done by a senior manager within Hallmarc. Only factual information will be provided. Where an employee is deceased, only police will inform the family. Counseling assistance will be made available. Section 3.6.9 Media. All messaging to the media regarding any incident on a Hallmarc site is to be made through the general manager. On-site staff should be courteous toward the media, but should not allow free access to site or discuss any incident. In the case of a fatality, particular care should be made not to share the names involved. Section 3.6.10 Return to Work. The Return to Work Coordinator is Nick Ford, HSEQ Manager. The Hallmarc Work Cover Agent is EML. Hallmarc is committed to supporting employees who experience a work-related injury or illness to return to safe, suitable work as early as possible. Hallmarc will support injured employees with early and positive return-to-work planning. Provide suitable duties consistent with the employee's capacity. Consult with the employee, treating health practitioners and WorkSafe agents. Maintain a safe, respectful and non-discriminatory workplace. Protect the employee's privacy and confidentiality. Comply with return-to-work obligations under Victorian legislation. Provide suitable duties where reasonably practicable. Appoint a return-to-work coordinator. Maintain a safe work environment. Return-to-work coordinator will coordinate return-to-work planning and communication. Develop, monitor and review return-to-work arrangements. Liaise with the employee, health providers and WorkSafe agent. Keep appropriate records. The employee will participate in return-to-work planning. Provide certificates of capacity as required. Follow agreed return-to-work arrangements. Communicate any issues or changes in capacity. Return-to-work planning will commence as soon as the employer receives a certificate of capacity or workers' compensation claim form. Suitable duties will be identified based on the employee's current capacity. Duties, hours and any workplace adjustments will be agreed through consultation. Progress will be reviewed regularly and arrangements adjusted as needed. Suitable duties may include modified or alternative tasks, reduced hours or graduated return, temporary adjustments to the work environment, use of equipment, or other reasonable supports. Suitable duties will be safe, meaningful and consistent with medical advice. All personal and medical information will be treated confidentially and only shared with relevant parties where required by law or with the employee's consent. Hallmarc will not discriminate against employees due to injury or illness. Reasonable workplace adjustments will be considered in line with legal requirements.
Section 3.7. Evacuation Procedure. In the event of an emergency, contact Hallmarc site management by phone, nurse call system, if installed, radio or by attending the site office. If necessary, contact emergency services on 000. See Evacuation Plan Section 3.13. Section 3.7.1. Chief Warden. Assess the nature and severity of the incident. Call, or designate someone to call 000. Coordinate people and activity prior to the arrival of emergency services. Where necessary, or possible, make safe. For example, isolate live power, barricade a dangerous area. Direct workers to the evacuation point. Account for workers at the evacuation point. Section 3.7.2. Warden. Assist the Chief Warden with all of the above tasks. Section 3.8. Injury Illness Procedure. In the event of an injury or illness emergency, contact Hallmarc Site Management by phone, nurse call system, if installed, radio, or by attending the site office. If necessary, contact emergency services on 000. Section 3.8.1. First Aider. Follow DRSA BCD. Danger. Check for danger. Do not put yourself in an unsafe situation. Response. Is the injured person conscious or responsive? Send for help, call, or have someone call 000. Airway. Check the patient's airway for obstruction. Keep the airway open. Breathing. Look, listen, feel. Make observation notes for emergency services. Circulation. If breathing has stopped, trained first aider should commence CPR. Defibrillation. If available, apply defibrillator. Follow voice prompts. Section 3.8.2. Chief Warden. Assist first aider. Coordinate and direct emergency services. Section 3.8.3. Warden. Assist the Chief Warden. Keep area clear. Isolate as required. Section 3.9. Fire Procedure. In the event of a fire, contact Hallmarc Site Management by phone, nurse call system, if installed, radio, or by attending the site office. If necessary, contact emergency services on 000. Attempt to put the fire out with a fire extinguisher if possible, and you are not endangering yourself. Section 3.9.1. Chief Warden. Assess the nature and severity of the incident. Sound the site emergency evacuation alarm. Call, or designate someone to call 000. Coordinate people and activity prior to the arrival of emergency services. Where necessary, or possible, make safe. For example, isolate live power, barricade a dangerous area. Direct workers to the evacuation point. Account for workers at the evacuation point. Section 3.9.2. Warden. Assist the Chief Warden with all of the above.
Section 3.10. Service or utility breach. In the event of a service or utility breach, contact Hallmarc Site Management by phone, nurse call system, radio, if installed, or by attending the site office. If necessary, contact emergency services on 000. Section 3.10.1. Chief Warden. Assess the nature and severity of the incident. Sound the site emergency evacuation alarm if required. Call, or designate someone to call 000 and/or the asset owner. Remove ignition sources. Isolate electricity, gas, water if necessary, and possible. Coordinate people and activity prior to the arrival of emergency services. Where necessary, or possible, make safe. For example, barricade a dangerous area. Direct workers to the evacuation point. Account for workers at the evacuation point. Are neighboring people and buildings at risk? Notify if necessary. Section 3.10.2. Warden. Assist the Chief Warden with all of the above. Section 3.11. Plant Incident Procedure. In the event of an incident involving plant or vehicles, contact Hallmarc Site Management by phone, nurse call system, radio, if installed, or by attending the site office. If necessary, contact emergency services on 000. Section 3.11.1. Chief Warden. Assess the nature and severity of the incident. Sound the site emergency evacuation alarm if required. Make safe and isolate the area. Attend to any injured persons. Look for leaking fuel and other secondary dangers. Coordinate or cease traffic or plant movement. After attending to injured persons and make safe, ensure area is undisturbed pending investigation. Section 3.11.2 Warden. Assist the Chief Warden with all of the above.
Section 3.12. Chemical or hazardous good spill. In the event of a chemical or hazardous good spill, contact Hallmarc site management by phone, nurse call system, radio, if installed, or by attending the site office. If necessary, contact emergency services on 000. Section 3.12.1 Chief Warden. Assess the nature and severity of the incident. Consult safety data sheets. Sound the site emergency evacuation alarm if required. Call, or designate someone to call 000 and/or the asset owner. Isolate the area. Clean up using on-site spill kit if possible. Coordinate people and activity prior to the arrival of emergency services. Where necessary, or possible, make safe. For example, barricade a dangerous area. Direct workers to the evacuation point. Account for workers at the evacuation point. And neighboring people and buildings at risk? Notify if necessary. Section 3.12.2. Warden. Assist the Chief Warden with all of the above.
Section 3.13. Structural failure. In the event of a structural failure, contact Hallmarc site management by phone, nurse call system, radio, if installed, or by attending the site office. If necessary, contact emergency services on 000. Section 3.13.1. Chief Warden. Assess the nature and severity of the incident. Sound the site emergency evacuation alarm if required. Assess for secondary hazards, such as falling debris, fire or explosion or structural instability. Call, or designate someone to call 000. Isolate the area. Coordinate people and activity prior to the arrival of emergency services. Isolate affected gas and electricity. Where necessary, or possible, make safe. For example, barricade a dangerous area. Direct workers to the evacuation point. Account for workers at the evacuation point. Are neighboring people and buildings at risk? Notify if necessary. Section 3.13.2 Warden. Assist the Chief Warden with all of the above.
Section 3.14. Natural disaster. In the event of a natural disaster, contact Hallmarc site management by phone, nurse call system, radio, if installed, or by attending the site office. If necessary, contact emergency services on 000. Natural disasters may include, but are not limited to bushfire, flooding, wind events, storms, earthquakes. Section 3.14.1. Chief Warden. Assess the nature and severity of the incident. Sound the site emergency evacuation alarm if required. Contain fire, flood, etc. if possible. Call, or designate someone to call 000. Isolate the area. Evacuate or take shelter as necessary. Isolate affected gas and electricity. Account for workers at the evacuation point. Protect human life as the priority. Section 3.14.2. Warden. Assist the Chief Warden with all of the above.
Section 3.15. Security threat. In the event of a security or bomb threat, contact Hallmarc site management by phone, nurse call system, radio, if installed, or by attending the site office. If necessary, contact emergency services on 000. Section 3.15.1. Chief Warden. Take all threats seriously, do not assume it is a hoax. Sound the site emergency evacuation alarm if required. Keep caller on the line as long as possible. Record details such as voice, background noise, exact words. Establish exclusion zones around suspicious items, threatened areas. Prevent re-entry to site. Secure access points. Lock gates if safe. Control incoming personnel and vehicles. Keep site clear for emergency responders. Section 3.15.2 Warden. Assist the Chief Warden with all of the above. Section 3.16 Project Emergency Personnel. Complete the yellow sections with the names and contact details of the project emergency personnel. See also the Hallmarc Training Register. Hallmarc will provide a 1:25 first aider to worker ratio.
Section 3.17 Site Evacuation Diagram. Follow this format when creating a site evacuation diagram. In the event of an evacuation, proceed immediately to the emergency evacuation point and report to the warden and/or site manager.
Section 3.18 Nearest Hospital Emergency Department. Use this template when creating a nearest hospital emergency department map. The QR code will direct you to an interactive map of all emergency departments in the Melbourne metropolitan area. Section 3.19 Nearest Medical Centre. Use this template when creating a nearest medical centre map. The QR code will direct you to a list of all Medicare urgent care clinics in Victoria.
Section 3.20 Emergency Equipment. Alarm, siren, air horns. Requirements must be risk assessed and tested for suitability. First aid kit. Competent and trained supplier to assess requirements in line with Compliance Code page 27. Hallmarc will provide a 1:25 first aider to worker ratio. Fire extinguishers. Must be tested and tagged 6 monthly. Oxygen resuscitation kit. Required when greater than 100 workers on site. Level 3 occupational first aid required. Rescue equipment. Defibrillator. Required if greater than 100 workers on site, or locate nearest. Spill kits. Assessed and replenished after use. Assessor must hold first aid training and warden certifications. After an emergency or when workplace conditions change significantly, emergency equipment requirements will be reviewed.
Section 3.21 Emergency contacts. Complete the fields accordingly. Project details. Project staff. Project after-hours contact. Utility authorities. Emergency services. And Hallmarc first aiders and wardens. This page should be displayed on the site notice board.